everybody. This is Dr. Dana Martin for the Sith Dominion, and we are going to be talking about a couple things today. Please welcome my guest from episode 1 and now on episode 2. Had a couple cancellations. No one's even seen the show. How do they know it's bad? Zane, welcome back to the show. I love Thrawn in the back. We'll probably be touching on that too because, you know, it's Thrawn.
I love him.
Hell yeah. So
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Again, I mean, wait, that sounded terrible. So we had some people cancel, and then so I went back. I had 2 people cancel, so I came back to you. Thanks. Don't take that bad. I mean, the fact that I was like, you know, I could have just done it on my own.
You coulda.
Yeah, so I didn't. Wow, what a week it has been for Star Wars 2. But how have you been this week? Because it has been a week since we talked. I know, right? You're my son, and I didn't even talk. But that's what happens sometimes when, you know.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good, you know. Sometimes had a couple car problems happen since the last episode, but we got that fixed.
Yeah.
And, you know, just working and then getting ready for my gig tomorrow.
You have a gig tomorrow. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Where at?
Oh, it's a private gig.
Oh. Not at the Little Longhorn Saloon, or what is it called?
No, not at the Little Longhorn Saloon in Austin, Texas.
No, not this time. This is a private event.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I see you've got this background so we don't have to look at your drum kit. That's pretty cool.
Oh, it's gone.
I thought
it was moved. It was moved downstairs.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about some of this. So last week we talked about Palpatine. We talked about Rule of 2 a little bit, and that's kind of our theme. This week is Darth Bane's legacy in the Rule of 2. I think it's extremely important to point out that doctrine and how. Like I said, we touched on it. We'll be digging into it a lot today, but just kind of your thoughts overall as we're moving into this episode from last week. Palpatine, Rule of 2, playing a little loose. Talk to me about just that now that you've kind of marinated on it a little bit. I mean, what did he have? 4 total?
In canon?
In canon, 4?
He had Maul, right? While under Plagueis, so already broke. and then he had Dooku, right? As well as, I remember reading up on, there was another one. It was almost like a bird-like species, but I'm pretty sure that was canon, that he had this other one that was only talked about in like the books or the comics. And then Vader. And then including all the Inquisitors.
Well, see, and that's what I think I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Inquisitors. Yeah, I think I don't think he played loose. I know we keep saying that with the rule. I think he utilized them in ways that maybe in ancient Sith history they weren't used. So, you know, everyone was kind of, we're all doing this, we're all in the same, we have our generals, we have our, you know, whatnots, but it's different. I don't know how to explain it. I hope we can kind of dig into that today too a little bit, because the Inquisitors are an interesting piece of the lore. But anyways, let's jump right into some new oh my goodness, let's jump into some new news. So something that happened, I don't know if you know about this, but there's a film by Zack Snyder that's going to be coming out called Rebel Moon. What I found interesting about this and reading up on it is that there is some connection to, you know, potentially Lucasfilm and Zack Snyder, and they maybe had talked on this, and some cool stuff about it. It's not a Star Wars film, but now I'm intrigued because it's like, so could I put this in the... Certainly they rewrote and did some things different, but man, so the synopsis, I pulled this from, I think Wiki, just I'll read it, and if you're not familiar, Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder, universe controlled by corrupt government, there's like a mother world, the moon, Veld, V-E-L-D-T, is threatened by some forces of the Imperium. It's just, you know, space western, Star Wars, cool stuff. There's a former member of the Imperium who seeks redemption for her past, and fun ensues, I guess. So I'm looking forward. I love anything that Zack Snyder does.
He's an
what do
amazing
you?
director.
Yeah, talk to me about that. About Zack Snyder and his character development. Let's start with that.
Well, I mean, the one thing everyone goes to for Zack Snyder is obviously the gone DCEU, you know, and I think it really shows how brilliant he is when you compare the cut version of Justice League to the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, and where you had complete just the fact that one was a square and one was widescreen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it takes those kinds of deep thoughts about how the movie will be made and seen that I think he's really good at doing.
I would agree, and the ability to kind of flesh out what may or may not work. I love when they do the director's cuts, period, because it gives you a better idea of their vision, or just this ginormously huge, 4-hour film or what. but I think it's cool how Zack Snyder is a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, that's known. He's been a huge Star Wars fan forever. What do you expect from this in comparison to Star Wars? Maybe.
I think the closest thing I would ever say it almost kind of seems like an Andor type thing. Maybe a little more rugged. I heard it could be rated R.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But it almost seems like a more down to earth type of sci-fi.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's going to be interesting either way when you throw in someone like Zack Snyder.
Legend.
Man, sorry. So on that note, let's think about moving into a Zack Snyder Star Wars film. What would that look like? I know, Rebel Moon. It's coming out this fall. No. Like,
December.
Just knowing how he intertwines everything so brilliantly. I think he does that on a scale that rivals Lucas, quite frankly. I know that Lucas has had to do some retcon stuff, but yeah, man. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's coming out soon, so we'll see. But I think what he's doing in this movie is making a good movie, but really trying to lay that foundation for a possible series.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See that. Oh well. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see it. And yeah. So, I think what was next? Sorry, guys. Yeah. So, last thing on this, influences of Star Wars evident in Zack Snyder's films. Can you see any of that influence? I'll steal the easy one. I mean, the whole I've lost my father or I've lost my mother and I'm an orphan and I've turned out to be this superhero. And, you've got Luke or you've got Anakin even early on as a Jedi Knight. So I kind of see those parallels of that. I don't want to say Mary Sue, like you got all this power, but yeah, I think you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Trying to think. There's a lot there, honestly.
Maybe his cinematography, like how he directs those film shots, I would say very heavily, like sorry, I moved back. Like the motion shots or the movement. Just a lot of that I see as parallels for what LucasArts did early on, modernizing old techniques, whereas I think LucasArts just creates brand new things. And I see Snyder as more of that director that likes to bring in the wholeness of filmmaking and not we're just going to do CGI. I mean the wholeness of your actors need to be in shape. They are doing these roles. They are I don't know. I think when we look at those parallels in the filmmaking piece as well, lots of use with color, dark tones, light tone throughout the film. And yeah, sorry, I get excited about that stuff. So
very good.
But now moving into that was our HoloNet highlights, and we're gonna jump right into deep side dive, and we're gonna slash Korriban Korner. So Zane, welcome back, and we didn't get to talk a lot with you last time, but I'd love to talk a little more about as we move into the Rule of Two. I know you've read the Bane book, so like that one specifically. I don't know if you've read. There's two, I believe. So tell me as you went through it. Tell me as you went through it, kind of your experience with that book.
Well, I mean, when I read the first book, I was in a hammock in the middle of the woods. Crazy. But really, I think it was one of the first Star Wars books I really got into, just because of how I want to say masterfully it was written, but how you almost get to relate to this character a lot more than all the other literature I had read at that time. And I think my mind reading this as I was going on, I was almost seeing parallels, because I read this after I read the new Thrawn book. I'm almost seeing parallels in how they were brought up in the same style.
Mm-hmm.
They were both very brilliant. Now, granted, one was in one way, one was in another, and they both overcame a lot of their own challenges in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept making a lot of back and forths between the two characters.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself, that's a Rule of Two, or that's this? Like, one of the points of this whole podcast, right, is to talk about how dark side lore, Sith lore, Rule of Two being one of them. There's things within them that we can absolutely use in leadership, business practices, and whatnot. Before we get into all that, I guess one of the questions I have for you, in addition to that, is when you think of Rule of Two. In my mind, I remember there's always two, no more, no less. And then from Phantom Menace, right? Mm-hmm. And I would, I'm sure you would agree, the majority of new fans, that's the first they ever heard of this. They had no idea that this was even a thing. So how do you feel the Rule of Two, knowing what you know about, I guess it's legends now, whatever, Traya and her triumvirate and all these different types of groupings of Sith, and then of course, Sith, whatever. How do you think this fits in to the whole pathway of the Sith, from this huge group of just fantastic people all the way down to now we only have two, one master, one apprentice. That's it. Well,
yeah,
kind of.
Well, close enough.
So how does it go from that to there?
Well, I think what it really took was a Sith to step back, someone who was already an outcast, and see that the Sith were killing each other. Mm-hmm. They literally had so much infighting, like Civil War-like stuff within the Sith Empire and the Sith Order, that, I mean, with how the dark side works, when you're hungry for more and more power, you're going to end up being the last one alive. And he saw that as what it was coming to. I mean, you see it in the Triumvirate.
Yeah.
Whenever they literally, you see it with Revan and Malgus. It's all that.
I love that you bring up Revan, because that's heavily influenced Bane, and I think Revan is such a great character, and I don't know what they're going to end up doing with Revan in a canonical sense. Canonical, I don't know how to say that word. Thank you. But I sure hope they do him justice. I love that the character is so great that it's throughout video games and it's mentioned in other books, and it's just, we can't make him totally canon yet. Well, please. So, I can't wait to see what happens with that. But those events and experiences with the Sith Order at that time, I think, with the Brotherhood of Darkness, or Sith, whatever. So I think that was fundamentally different than what his vision was, and in his vision, it was, yes, we will conquer forever everything, but it was also more of a I don't want to say relationship, but a very mentor-mentee mentality when you have rule of two instead of, hey, everybody just go kill some people. I know it wasn't like that. I'm not saying that. I'm oversimplifying it. But even oversimplifying it, there's this funnel progression of getting down to two. Now, how does that impact the Sith at large once that happens?
It's a big question.
It is a big question because the Sith fundamentally changed after that point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's very funny that with how we have just been talking about how the Sith have slowly pushed their own numbers down, that it really was Bane who killed the rest of the Sith.
Yeah.
So in looking at how they themselves were killing each other overpowered, he himself did the same exact thing with the entire rest of the Order.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking at the ultimate goal of the Sith is to rule. I mean, like you shall have one ruler. I believe the Old Republic games opened us up to that lore in a way that we hadn't seen it before. It allowed us to explore Bane. It allowed us to explore Malgus, which was created for the game, but still freaking incredible. And see what happens in the difference between this Sith legacy of ambitious, power-hungry, folks that at some point someone's going to have to rule. Not everybody can be equal. But then you end up with a big dilution of the power of the Sith. I just don't think, I'm all Sith, as Palpatine says in Rise of Skywalker. And yes, that's true, but you are but one. and now you're only two. As powerful as you are only two. And I think that can hurt the Sith ultimately. Who did Palpatine have to fall back on in Rise of Skywalker? Once Ben went back to being Ben, who did he have?
The only people he had were his followers.
Oh, those weirdos. Yeah, okay. I think it's cool. We're going to circle back here, though, to Revan. There were many lessons learned by Bane. I think Revan, he kept his back to the relationship piece. He kept his apprentices close. He kept his even when as Jedi, really relational, developmental. Always watching over your back if you're a Sith, though. He couldn't prevent himself from dying. Yeah, that's right, because you killed him. Yeah. So with those bits, do you feel putting yourself in what's her name? Zana's position? Was her thirst for power the same or greater than Bane? And why?
I'd almost say it is the same, if not less.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think one of the biggest things I remember from reading the series was that instead of being impatient with her hunger for power and for her becoming the Sith Lord, that her plan was to wait until Bane was old. Wait till she can milk out every information and then kill him. Yeah. And I think, especially at that time, that just wasn't what he wanted, and it shouldn't have been what she wanted. Yeah. I think there would have been a lot more power there if she would have been
compliant.
Yeah. Well, if she not compliant, but if she was going to kill him.
Oh, I see. So
instead of waiting.
Yeah. So her power would have grown as she was accumulating and waiting for opportunity to just off him, learning new skills instead of waiting for him to teach. I see what you're saying. Freaking awesome. Those are some valuable lessons too for business and leadership. What? Yeah. We've talked about the mentorship piece a lot. Yes, Bane, Revan, these folks ruled the galaxy or what have you, but you are going to die at some point unless you're Scion and you just are a corpse walking around held together by the Force. But I don't think that's canon either anymore. So, so mentorship, succession planning, extremely important. Rule of two. You should never be single-threaded. In business, I actually right now dealing with some issues in my real life job where if I did not train another person to do what I do, there's no way we'd be able to survive. When you are sick, when you quit your job, who's going to take your place? And I think if your legacy is that mentorship and succession planning. So legacy for Bane is if something happens to me, which I will live forever, they always think that, I need to make sure that my rule carries on through my apprentice. So, oh, look at that. I'm getting, streamlined power structures. Okay, so we're going to go take over this planet or whatever. Well, who's going to do it? Well, I mean, I'm the general, so yeah, but he's the admiral for space. You need to get there first. And then, no, we need streamline power structures so that Home Skillet can say, this is where you go, and that's where you go. And then look at your apprentice who fills the gap of where you might be missing in your leadership. What do we do here? You do this. Okay, cool, thanks. And then, boom. So having a streamlined power structure, wow. We just got in my org a new CEO. Awesome. I don't know who they are. I don't know what. Oh, we've had 4 meetings in 2 months with this individual, letting us know who he is, letting us know who his successors are within the organization as it changed. Organizations can absolutely be more effective when that decision-making power is streamlined. And I think, lastly, and I'll get your thoughts on kind of whatever after this last one. I get on a roll. It's what I do. I'm sorry, man. Strategic adaptation. When Bane decided to institute the rule of 2, it came from his understanding of the many failures throughout the Sith's legacy. Let's take a look. Let's analyze. Okay, well, I think this might be happening. No. What does the data say? Well, the data says we're just all over the place, and we need some refinement. We can do it. We've done it. It's just a little sloppy. He recognized a different need and adjusted and pivoted as a good leader does and adapts. And what happened? Super successful. So that learning, of course, from failures of others, super huge. So mentorship, streamlined power structures, and strategic adaptation are, from my opinion, kind of the top 3 transmittable skill sets or acknowledgments to real world business. And I was going to ask what you thought, but you just took a drink. So,
cheers. Oh, I guess you can't.
So what are you eating?
I agree with a lot of that, honestly. You put it in amazing words, and I guess that's why you have the doctorate. But no, it totally makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
the master apprentice dynamic being moved into a real life scenario where you should have someone right there. That way, whenever you do fall, they're there to help you back up,
Mm-hmm.
And for when you are gone, they push and start the next generation of that. The streamlined power structures. It really shows how, with a chain of command that's a lot clearer and everyone knows what's going on, everything
Mm-hmm.
will be pushed more efficiently through, and you can definitely see that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and I think you can continue on the pathway and tie it back into last week. The rule of two is not a flamboyant, we're the Sith, like in Old Republic, where Malgus crashes into the Jedi Temple and everyone comes out. It's just not like that. And conquering from the inside and using, I think the rule of two was essential in providing the shroud of secrecy, what we call playing it close to the chest. It had to be that way. Or else someone, somewhere, something would have happened and the Jedi would have sensed or known. The fact that there were only 3-5 people that knew what the heck was going on, in addition to Palpatine, that's what made it successful. That doesn't mean you keep secrets from your employees or your management. What that means is sometimes it's important to not just go blab in your mouth. Keep those things close to you that need to be close to you, and share those things that need to be shared, and assure that everybody is on the same page. I think one of the biggest problems, and this is the most boring part for you, Zane, I'm sure, but one of the most crazy things that I see in the business world that is likened to this are alliances. What I try to do is not have people form alliances with me. I influence people to see things maybe from a different perspective that then they can see what I see and join along. So when I have my mentees or people that I covertly try to influence and grow, most of the time they don't know it. That's where I see this also playing in. It's not something everyone needs to know about either. I'm helping develop someone. I'm not going to blabber that out. Now, yes, I do have a side business as a leadership coach. Totally different. I'm talking about the covert, quiet. I'm going to build you up, and you're going to be fantastic. And I know that's what Palpatine did to Anakin. Built him up, made him feel like he was the baddest asseries of all of them. I don't know if I can say that. May have to bleep it. But that's not that bad. But you can totally see how if there was no rule of two, this never would have happened. Period. So, yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts, parting shots on this topic? Because this was good.
No, you hit the nail.
Nice. All right, we're going to move on to our artwork of the week. No fan theory this week. We'll check it next week. We have Bane and Xana, and this is the cover art for the book that is called Darth Bane, Dynasty of Evil. Sorry.
Third in the series.
Third in the series, written by
Drew K.
Yeah, it'll be in the description. I don't want to mess up the name. Great author, great book. I want to quickly talk about that title of the book, which was that alluding to evil. And, a certain point of view is an important thing here. Just because something is perceived evil doesn't mean there aren't lessons you can learn from it. Is it evil to rip the heart out of somebody through the Force and throw it in their face? Probably. Did they deserve it? We don't know. That's not up to us to decide. But rule of two, for sure. An incredible example of how to grow people below you, to take your place. Work yourself out of a job. That's the goal. Awesome. Before we go into our outro, Zane Martin, I wanted to talk to you for a second.
Here.
You are, we touched on it, you were already a sophomore. Are you already then a junior, or are you still kind of sophomore for your first semester?
It's weird. Credit-wise, I'm on that borderline between a sophomore and a junior credit-wise, but then class-wise, because computer science is just so much, I'm still technically a sophomore, and I will be.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about your photo and your background and why you chose that. And for people on Spotify, Apple, whatever, it's a photo of, or it's a artwork of Thrawn, and Darth Vader is standing behind him, looking kind of off to Thrawn's right. Go.
This is actually the cover for the second Thrawn book in the new Thrawn trilogy called Thrawn Alliances. Yeah.
I have not finished that first book yet.
Oh, it's so
good. Timothy Zahn wrote that too, though, right?
Mm-hmm. He's an amazing author.
100%.
But I mostly have this on because I thought Thrawn's my favorite character in the whole canon universe, and I actually I just finished, or I'm like about to finish, the first book in the Chiss Ascendancy series.
Ooh.
And it actually connects to the end of it. He meets Anakin, where it connects to Alliances, where they have the flashbacks where they meet, and so that connect. Oh,
that's cool. You know what? You are your own person, but there are bits of you that are just chips off of this old block, man. And one of those is the fact you love Thrawn. I'm assuming is for pretty dang close to the same reasons that I love Palpatine. It's the visionary. It's seeing 18 steps ahead of everybody else and knowing they're playing right into it. And keeping your cool and just watching it happen. I'm guessing. Now you can correct me, but go.
Yes, he's such a brilliant character, and his flaws aren't that he oversees or that he underestimates or overestimates. It's that he puts too much trust basically into the people around him, to where if they don't do what he's planned, it fails.
Yeah. Every piece has to function as he stated.
Mm-hmm.
And if it
that's
does,
why in Rebels, that's exactly what happens in Rebels multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm thinking a lot about on what you call it, on what's the planet, when they were stealing the ships, I forget which.
Is that Lothal?
Thank you, Lothal. Yes, God, it's like the main planet of the whole freaking show, isn't it? It's been a long day. Yeah, like on Lothal, where that he didn't account for failures of his people, and that as the show goes on, he actually anticipates failures of his employees, and that's brilliant, because that's a part of his plan. Like, he knows they're gonna fail, and he set it up knowing they're gonna fail. Like, you don't trust me, man? It's awesome, man. I love Thrawn. Definitely one of my favorites of the legends. I read all those, of course. Having gotten to finish all the stuff I need to reread now. So awesome. All right. Well, so kind of recap here. We had that nice piece of artwork from Dynasty of Evil book, third book in the series, Darth Bane. We had some discussion about Rule of Two, of course. We'll talk about that more as the show progresses, because it's just so important and there's so many things to learn from it. We also talked about how Bane's doctrine not only impacted Ben, but also impacted that potentially Palpatine would have never even been able to do what he did, the way he did it, had it not been for the Rule of Two. And then how does that translate into real world? Well, several ways. Ways that we talked about: mentorship, streamlined power, and strategic application. So being able to apply all this theory, I guess it's theory, Sith lore leadership theory by Dr. Dana Martin. All right. Anyways, next week, what are we going to talk about next week? Next week, I'm trying to remember what I had. Rule of Two, Palpatine, who was his first apprentice, Maul. Next week, we're going to talk about Maul, and we'll touch on Maul in the world of Palpatine, but more so, we're going to touch on Maul in the world of Rebels. So, with that, Zane, again, thank you, and you can't make a habit of this because I'm the host. It's not two co-hosts. I'm the host. Sure. I'm the boss. So, thanks again, Zane. This was fun. I look forward to doing it again. And any parting shots for us? And what do you got? You got a gig, but it's private, so why would you even tell us? But
I have a gig coming up next month.
Oh yeah, where at?
Ooh, the Little Longhorn Saloon.
Little Longhorn Saloon. You catch them on Twitch. Yeah, subscribe to Twitch, Little Longhorn Saloon. It's just a lot of fun. Watching a little country band. Yeah. So, Star Wars runs deep, all across all genres of music, all genres of movie. So, lots of love out there. So, love you guys. You guys have a good one. Sith Dominion, thesithdominion.com. Check out geeknewsnow.net. Check out our channel, Geek News Now Official on YouTube. And I'll be there shortly. You guys have a good one.